Thomas Edison. Chapter 1. Small Town Beginnings. My name is Thomas Edison. I was born in 1847 in a small town called Menlo, Ohio. It is a nice place, not big like a city, but with friendly people and lots of trees around the houses. My family wasn't rich, but we were happy together. My father, Samuel, was a kind man who worked hard. He works with many things, fixing things for people in the town, like wagons and tools. My mother, Nancy, was a smart lady who taught me to read and write. She has many books, and she read me stories about faraway places and people who invent amazing things. I wasn't the best student in school. I sometimes get in trouble for talking too much and asking too many questions. The teacher wanted me to sit still and be quiet, but my mind was always busy thinking about how things work. I like to take things apart, see what's inside, and figure out how they put together. One day, my father brought home a broken clock. It is a pocket watch, small and shiny, but it's not ticking anymore. My father asked me to stay away from it, but I was curious. When he's not looking, I take the watch to my room. I carefully open it, using a small knife. Inside, there are many tiny gears and springs, all connected in a way I had never seen before. I spent all afternoon looking at the pieces, trying to understand how they work together to make the hands of the clock move. I even try to put it back together, but the parts are too small and delicate. My father found me with the watch open, and he was not happy. He tells me it is important to be careful and not break things that belong to others. Even though I got in trouble, I was happy because I learned something new. I learned that things can be very small and complex on the inside, even though they look simple on the outside. This makes me even more curious about the world around me. One sunny afternoon, a big, loud machine come through Menlo. It is a train with a long line of cars and a big smokestack puffing out black smoke. I had never seen anything like it before. The train stops in Menlo for a little while, and I stand there watching it with my mouth open. The sound of the engine was loud and scary, but also exciting. People get on and off the train, carrying bags and boxes. A man with a hat and a big mustache yells something about news and papers. I learned later that the train carries people and things to different places, far away from Menlo. That day, the train showed me a world bigger than my small town. It makes me think about all the things I don't know yet, all the places I have never been. I want to learn more about how things work, like the train, and maybe even invent something amazing myself one day. Life in Menlo was simple but happy. I play with my friends in the fields, climb trees, and catch fish in the river. But every day, I also spend time reading books my mother gave me, learning about electricity, magnets, and machines. One book talks about a scientist named Benjamin Franklin who discovered electricity. It was amazing to me that there's a power that can make sparks and light up things, even without fire. I start collecting small rocks and things I find outside, trying to see if they have any electricity in them. Another book tells me about inventors who create amazing machines, like steam engines and printing presses. These machines change the world and make people's lives easier. I dream of becoming an inventor myself, someone who can build things that help others and make the world a better place. Years go by, and I grow bigger. My curiosity about the world never stops. I spend all my free time learning and experimenting. I set up a small workshop in the corner of our house, with tools my father gave me and things I collected from around town. I build little machines, test different materials, and try to understand how things work. One day, a man came to our town selling a strange device. It is a small box with a metal crank on the side. The man calls it a zoetrope and says it can show moving pictures. I watch in amazement as he turns the crank and pictures inside the box come alive, showing a horse running. It is like magic. I had never seen anything like it before, and I immediately wanted to understand how it worked. The man is not interested in showing me the inside of the zoetrope, but I spend days studying it from the outside, trying to figure out the secret. This just makes me even more curious about amazing inventions and how they work. Milan is a nice town, but I know there's a bigger world out there, full of things to learn and discover. I dream of a place with more machines, more inventors. Chapter 2. The Telegraph Boy. When I was 12 years old, things changed for my family. My father's work became less steady, and we had to move to a bigger city called Port Huron, Michigan. It was a noisy, busy place with lots of people and tall buildings. It felt different from Milan, but it also had exciting things I never saw before. Finding a job was important to help my family, so I started working as a newsboy. Every morning, I woke up early and went to the train station to pick up a big stack of newspapers. Then, I ran up and down the train platforms, calling out, "Get your morning news here." It was a busy job, especially when the trains arrived and everyone wanted a paper. Sometimes, I even jumped on the train for a short ride while it stopped, selling papers to passengers inside. It was a bit scary at first, but I got used to it. The train conductors were friendly and sometimes even gave me a free ride to the next station. One day, something exciting happened on the train. There was a loud screech and a sudden stop. People yelled and grabbed onto their seats. I looked out the window and saw the train tracks twisted and broken ahead. It seemed like a terrible accident could happen. Luckily, the train conductor stayed calm. He went to a small metal box on the wall and started tapping a key on it. I watched curiously as he tapped out a message in a kind of code. He told me later it was called Morse code, and it was a way to send messages over long distances using electricity. The conductor's message traveled through wires that ran along the train tracks. It reached another station down the line, and soon, help arrived. They fixed the tracks, and our train journey continued. That experience with the telegraph completely fascinated me. Sending messages with electricity seemed like magic. I wanted to learn more about this amazing invention. I started spending all my free time after work at the local library, reading everything I could find about telegraphs. I learned how the system worked. The telegraph used a series of dots and dashes to represent letters of the alphabet. By tapping a key on a machine, you could send these codes through wires, and another machine at the other end would translate them back into letters, showing the message on a piece of paper. The library even had a working telegraph machine on display. I spent hours staring at it, trying to understand its mechanics. I saved all my money from selling newspapers and bought some used telegraph parts from a junk shop. Back in a small corner of our house, I set up my own little telegraph workshop. I practiced tapping out messages in Morse code and trying to connect my own wires and parts. It was difficult at first, but slowly, I started to understand how the system worked. One day, while practicing my Morse code tapping, I accidentally sent a message through the real telegraph line that ran near our house. It was just a silly message to myself, but to my surprise, I got a reply. It turned out to be the station master from the nearby telegraph office. He was surprised to receive a message from such a young person and even more surprised to learn I built my own telegraph. He was impressed by my curiosity and invited me to visit his office to learn more about how telegraph operators worked. That visit changed my life. The station master, Mr. McKenzie, became my mentor. He showed me the real telegraph machines, how they received messages, and how to send them properly. He even started teaching me how to be a telegraph operator myself. I learned quickly and diligently. Soon, I was good enough to get a real job as a telegraph operator. My first job was a small station in Port Huron, but I was happy to finally use my knowledge and be part of the exciting world of communication. Working as a telegraph operator was a busy and sometimes stressful job. Messages came in all day and night, and I had to be quick and accurate in receiving and sending them. I learned about all sorts of things happening in the world through the messages I handled. News stories, business deals, personal messages, they all passed through my hands and tapped out in Morse code. It was a fascinating job that connected me to people and events far beyond my hometown. But I didn't just want to receive and send messages. I wanted to understand the technology behind them to improve the machines themselves. In my free time, I continued tinkering with my telegraph at home. I experimented with different parts, trying to make the system faster and more efficient. I even dreamed of one day inventing a new kind of telegraph, something better than anything that existed. Working as a telegraph operator was a great learning experience for me. It sparked my passion for invention and opened my eyes to the vast network of communication that connected the world. It was just the beginning of my journey as a young inventor, and the seeds of many future inventions were planted during those years. The constant flow of information through the telegraph lines fueled my curiosity about the world and the power of communication. I knew there had to be ways to make this technology even better, faster, and more accessible. My time as a telegraph operator wasn't just about work, though. It opened doors to new friendships and experiences. I met all sorts of interesting people who traveled through the station, each with their own stories to tell. Some were businessmen sending important messages. Others were families sending greetings to loved ones far away. These interactions gave me a glimpse into the lives of people beyond my small town, further inspiring my desire to connect the world in new ways. Looking back, those days as a telegraph boy were a turning point in my life. They shaped my future not just as an inventor, but as a person. The lessons I learned about communication, persistence, and the power of human connection became the foundation for everything I would achieve in the years to come. Chapter 3: The Workshop. Working as a telegraph operator was exciting, but it wasn't enough for me anymore. The constant flow of information through the wires fueled a burning desire in my heart to invent. I wanted to create something new, something that would improve the way people communicated and lived their lives. The telegraph was amazing, but it had limitations. It required a skilled operator to understand Morse code, and the messages could only travel as far as the wires reached. I dreamt of a communication system that was simpler, faster, and accessible to everyone. But to achieve this dream, I needed a dedicated space to work on my ideas, a place where I could experiment, build things, and test them out without distractions. So, I decided to set up my own workshop. Finding the perfect space wasn't easy. I looked all over Port Huron, searching for a small room or shed that I could afford. Finally, I found a dusty, cluttered basement in an old building not far from the telegraph office. It wasn't much to look at, but for me, it was a treasure trove of possibilities. With the help of some friends, I cleaned out the basement and started gathering tools and materials. I bought used tools from pawn shops, salvaged parts from scrap yards, and even built some simple tools myself. My workshop wasn't fancy, but it had everything I needed: a workbench, shelves for storing parts, and a corner with wires, batteries, and other electrical equipment. The first project I tackled in my new workshop was an improvement on the telegraph itself. The machines used at the time were bulky and complicated. I wanted to make them smaller, easier to use, and more reliable. I spent days studying the existing telegraph design, sketching ideas, and experimenting with different materials. Many of my early attempts failed. Parts would break, wires wouldn't connect properly, and sometimes I even caused small electrical fires. But I never gave up. Each failure was a learning experience, teaching me something new about electronics and the delicate balance of making things work together. Through trial and error, I slowly started to make progress. I designed a new telegraph key that was easier to press, and I figured out a way to use less electricity to send messages. My improved telegraph was smaller and lighter, making it easier to transport and use in remote locations. The success of my first project fueled my confidence. I felt like I was finally on the right track. Soon, my workshop became a hive of activity. Ideas filled my head, and I couldn't wait to bring them to life. One day, while tinkering with telegraph parts, I stumbled upon a new idea. What if, instead of just sending coded messages, we could transmit sound itself? Imagine being able to talk to someone far away through wires, just like having a conversation in person. The idea seemed impossible at first, but the seed was planted in my mind. I started researching everything I could find about sound and its relation to electricity. I learned about early experiments with sound transmission and the challenges they faced. This new challenge became my obsession. My workshop became filled not just with telegraph parts, but also with new tools and materials for this ambitious project. I experimented with microphones, speakers, and different types of wires, trying to find a way to convert sound waves into electrical signals and back again. The journey to invent the telephone was long and arduous. There were countless setbacks and moments of frustration, but I never lost sight of my goal. I spent nights poring over books and technical manuals, and days hunched over my workbench, trying to make my vision a reality. Finally, after months of relentless work, I had a breakthrough. I built a working prototype of a telephone. It was a crude device by today's standards, but it was a proof of concept. By speaking into a mouthpiece and listening through an earpiece, I could transmit my voice a short distance through wires. The success of the first telephone was a turning point in my career as an inventor. It showed me that even the most ambitious ideas could become reality with hard work, perseverance, and a little bit of inspiration. My little workshop in the basement became a stage for innovation, where dreams were transformed into tangible inventions. But this was just the beginning. The success of the telephone only fueled my desire to create even more groundbreaking inventions. My workshop was no longer just a place to work. It was a springboard for launching ideas that would change the world. Chapter 4: MenloPark. The success of the telephone was like a spark igniting a fire in my heart. I knew I had the potential to create even more amazing inventions, but my small workshop in Port Huron wasn't enough anymore. I needed a bigger space, a place dedicated solely to invention, where I could work with a team of talented people and bring my ideas to life on a larger scale. After months of searching and planning, I found the perfect location in MenloPark, New Jersey. It was a large, abandoned factory building with high ceilings, open space, and plenty of room for all my dreams. This place, nicknamed the Invention Factory, would become the stage for some of my most groundbreaking creations. Transforming the old factory into a functioning workshop was a big job. We cleaned, repaired, and painted the building, turning it into a vibrant hub of creativity. We installed workbenches, shelves, and electrical wiring throughout the space. Each area had a specific purpose: a room for metalworking, another for woodworking, a dedicated space for chemistry experiments, and of course, a large area for electrical tinkering and testing. But the most important thing wasn't the building itself. It was the people who filled it. I started by hiring a few skilled assistants, people who shared my passion for invention and were eager to learn. Soon, the workshop was filled with a diverse team of mechanics, electricians, chemists, and draftsmen, all working together towards a common goal. We had weekly meetings where I would share my ideas with the team. Sometimes it was a rough sketch on a piece of paper, other times a detailed plan with specific tasks for each person. We discussed challenges, brainstormed solutions, and celebrated every small victory. One of the first projects we tackled at MenloPark was the improvement of the telephone. The prototype I built in my basement was limited in its range. We wanted to make it possible for people to talk over long distances, across cities, and maybe even one day across countries. This required a lot of experimentation with different types of wires and materials. We tested the effects of distance on sound transmission and researched ways to amplify the signal without distortion. It was a complex problem, but my team's dedication and combined knowledge helped us make significant progress. Another exciting project at MenloPark was the invention we called the phonograph. The idea was to capture sound waves and store them on a physical object so you could listen to them again later. Imagine being able to record your voice or music and play it back whenever you wanted. This concept seemed like science fiction at the time. We started by experimenting with different materials, trying to find something that could record and retain sound vibrations. We tested needles, tinfoil cylinders, and even wax-coated paper. The journey to creating the phonograph was filled with challenges. We faced countless dead ends and frustrating setbacks. But slowly, through trial and error, we started to see progress. We built a working prototype that could record and play back short snippets of sound. Although the quality wasn't perfect, the invention of the phonograph was a major breakthrough. It opened doors to a new era of audio recording and playback, paving the way for later inventions like record players and audio recordings. MenloPark wasn't just about work, though. It was a place where creativity thrived and collaboration flourished. We worked long hours, but we also had fun. We shared meals together, played games after work, and celebrated each other's successes. The atmosphere at MenloPark was electric. Everyone was driven by a shared passion for invention and a desire to make a difference in the world. We were a team of dreamers and doers, pushing the boundaries of science and technology with every project we undertook. The years at MenloPark were some of the most productive and fulfilling years of my life. It was there that some of my most iconic inventions were born, and where I truly learned the power of teamwork and collaboration. MenloPark wasn't just a workshop. It was a symbol of innovation, a testament to what can be achieved when passionate minds come together. Chapter 5: The Quest for Light. Even with all the amazing inventions coming out of MenloPark, there was one challenge that kept nagging at me: the quest for a better light source. Back then, people relied on candles and oil lamps for light at night. These flames were weak, flickering, and gave off smoke, making them messy and unhealthy. I dreamed of creating a new kind of light, a light that was bright, clean, and long-lasting. A light that could banish the darkness and make nights more productive and enjoyable. This quest became my new obsession. There were already some inventions for electric lighting, but they weren't perfect. Arc lamps, for example, used electricity to create a bright light, but they were expensive, noisy, and flickered badly. They weren't suitable for everyday use in homes or businesses. I started by researching all the existing knowledge about electricity and light. I studied the works of scientists who came before me, like Benjamin Franklin and Humphrey Davy, who experimented with electricity and light sources. I even built small models of existing electric lamps to understand how they worked. However, I knew simply studying wouldn't be enough. Innovation often comes from taking existing ideas and pushing them further. I needed to experiment, to test different materials and approaches to find the key to a better light source. One of the main challenges was finding the right material to create light electrically. Back then, scientists knew electricity could be used to make something glow, but they hadn't found the perfect material for it. This glowing element, called a filament, was the heart of any electric light bulb. We tested all sorts of things in our workshop at MenloPark. We tried thin wires made of different metals, even things like carbonized paper and bamboo. Each material had its own advantages and disadvantages. Some glowed brightly, but burned out too quickly. Others lasted longer, but didn't emit enough light. The process was frustrating at times. We had countless failed experiments, dead ends, and moments where it seemed like finding the perfect filament was impossible. But my team and I were persistent. We wouldn't give up on our quest to bring light out of the darkness. Months turned into years, and the piles of discarded materials in our workshop grew larger. But our determination never wavered. We kept testing, refining our ideas, and learning from every failure. Then, one day, a breakthrough happened. We were experimenting with a thin filament made of carbonized bamboo when we noticed something remarkable. The bamboo filament, when heated by electricity in a vacuum-sealed glass bulb, glowed brightly and lasted for a significantly longer time than anything we had tried before. It wasn't perfect yet, but it was a major step forward. We had finally found a material that had the potential to become the heart of a practical and long-lasting light bulb. News of our progress spread quickly. People were excited about the possibility of a clean and reliable electric light. We received support and encouragement from scientists, businesses, and even ordinary people who longed for brighter nights. The next challenge was to refine the design of the light bulb. We needed to find the right size and shape for the bulb, develop a way to connect it to electricity safely, and ensure it would be durable and affordable for everyday use. This process took more time and experimentation. We tested different glass shapes, improved the vacuum sealing process, and designed a metal base for the bulb to screw into a socket. Slowly but surely, the light bulb we envisioned was taking shape. Finally, after years of relentless work and countless setbacks, the day arrived. We had created the first practical incandescent light bulb. It wasn't the most efficient design by today's standards, but it worked. It provided a bright, clean light that lasted for hours, a far cry from the flickering flames of candles and oil lamps. The invention of the light bulb was a defining moment in my life. It not only fulfilled my personal quest, but it also had a profound impact on the world. Electric lights transformed homes and businesses, making nights brighter and more productive. They provided a safer alternative to open flames and improved people's lives in countless ways. But for me, the true reward wasn't just the success of the invention itself. It was the journey, the process of discovery and collaboration that led us to that point. The quest for light taught me the importance of perseverance, the power of teamwork, and the joy of bringing an idea to life and making a difference in the world. Chapter 6: Illuminating the World. The success of the light bulb was a turning point, not just for me, but for the entire world. People were amazed by this new source of light, clean, bright, and lasting for hours. The news spread like wildfire, and everyone wanted one in their homes and businesses. But creating the light bulb was only the first step. Now, we had to figure out how to make them accessible to everyone. This meant setting up a system for mass production and finding a way to deliver electricity to homes and buildings. Back then, electricity was a novelty, mainly used for telegraph lines and a few public demonstrations. We needed to build power plants that could generate enough electricity to light entire neighborhoods, let alone whole cities. This was a huge undertaking. We needed to invest in new technology, build power lines across long distances, and convince people of the benefits of switching from traditional lighting methods to electricity. At MenloPark, we started by setting up a dedicated factory for light bulb production. We designed machines that could create the bulbs faster and more efficiently, ensuring consistent quality and lowering the cost per bulb. The first light bulbs were expensive, and only wealthy people could afford them. But as production increased and the design improved, the price gradually came down, making them more accessible to the average person. Another challenge was convincing people to switch to electricity. Many were skeptical of this new technology, unsure of its safety and unfamiliar with how to use it. We organized public demonstrations, showcasing the benefits of electric lights and explaining how they worked. Slowly but surely, people started to see the advantages. Electric lights were brighter, cleaner, and didn't require constant refilling of oil or replacing candles. They also provided a safer alternative to open flames, reducing the risk of fires. As the demand for electricity grew, power companies began to spring up. They built power plants, strung power lines across cities, and installed meters in homes and businesses to track electricity usage. This new infrastructure laid the foundation for the widespread adoption of electrical appliances in the future. The invention of the light bulb and the rise of electricity had a profound impact on society. Nights were no longer shrouded in darkness. People could work longer hours, read books after dark, and enjoy social activities in the evenings. Factories could operate around the clock, increasing productivity and economic output. Cities became brighter and safer places. Streetlights illuminated pathways, reducing crime and making it easier for people to navigate at night. Electric lights even made a difference in entertainment. Theaters could put on elaborate shows with bright lights and special effects, and people could stay out later enjoying nightlife activities. The impact went beyond just daily life. Electric lights revolutionized many industries. Hospitals could perform surgeries at night, saving lives that might have been lost before. Scientific research could continue uninterrupted by darkness, leading to new discoveries and advancements. Looking back, the invention of the light bulb was more than just a new lighting source. It was a catalyst for change, a spark that ignited a revolution in technology and society. It ushered in a new era of light, not just illuminating homes and streets, but also illuminating the path towards a brighter future. However, my work wasn't done. The success of the light bulb fueled my passion for invention even further. There were still so many problems to solve, so many ways to improve lives with new technologies. MenloPark continued to be a hub of innovation, and I had many more ideas waiting to be brought to life. The journey of an inventor is never-ending. There are always new challenges to tackle, new discoveries to be made, and new ways to make the world a better place. And for me, that journey was just beginning. Chapter 7: A Life Illuminated. Looking back on my life, it wasn't just about the inventions. Yes, the light bulb, the phonograph, the telephone. These were all things that changed the world. But for me, the real joy came from the process of invention itself. The thrill of a new idea, the satisfaction of overcoming a technical challenge, the excitement of seeing a creation come to life. These were the things that truly fueled my passion. MenloPark wasn't just a workshop, it was a family. The team I worked with, the mechanics, electricians, chemists, and dreamers, they were like brothers to me. Together, we shared countless late nights, frustrating setbacks, and moments of pure elation when an invention finally worked. The lessons I learned at MenloPark went far beyond science and technology. I learned the importance of teamwork, the value of perseverance, and the power of believing in something bigger than yourself. As I got older, I continued to invent. I created new and improved versions of my earlier inventions, and I explored entirely new fields, like motion pictures and even concrete. But the core principles remained the same: a curious mind, a relentless work ethic, and a desire to make a positive impact on the world. Of course, there were critics and skeptics along the way. Some doubted my ideas, others questioned my methods. But I never let negativity hold me back. I knew that true innovation often comes from challenging the status quo and pushing the boundaries of what's possible. Throughout my life, I received many awards and accolades. But the thing that mattered most to me was the appreciation of ordinary people who used my inventions to improve their lives. Seeing a child listen to music on a phonograph, a family gather around a brightly lit table, or a doctor perform surgery under electric lights, these were the moments that truly filled me with pride. As my time drew to a close, I looked back on a long and fulfilling life. I had the privilege of witnessing the incredible advances in technology that stemmed from my early inventions. The world I lived in as a child, filled with darkness and limitations, had become a place of light, opportunity, and connection. And while I may not have been there to see it all, I knew that the spirit of invention would continue to thrive. The young minds inspired by my work, the dreamers and tinkerers who followed in my footsteps, they would carry the torch forward, illuminating the path towards a brighter future. My story is not just about me. It's a testament to the power of human curiosity, the potential of collaboration, and the endless possibilities that lie within each of us. It's a reminder that even the simplest idea, nurtured with passion and perseverance, can change the world. This, then, is not the end. It's the beginning of a new chapter, a call to action for every curious mind, every dreamer, and every inventor waiting to be discovered. The light may have begun at MenloPark, but it continues to shine brightly, illuminating the path for generations to come.